Hey, Riverland. Good to see you on February 11th. Sorry about the foreshortened week. I had to visit my mama on Monday. I took a personal day. I don't do that very often. Students who work with me a lot up in Brainerd know that. But she's my mom. She brought me into the world, and she's feeling a little bit better, although that vaccine for this COVID business, she's almost 92, and it made her feel pretty weird. So good luck with your decision on whether or not you're gonna take that. Jury's still out in my mind on it. So look, I got to run by you a few ideas that I ran by my Comp 2s yesterday, Wednesday. And I got a poem for you, I got some ideas, and got a couple surprises today regarding Beowulf, my main subject. But first, just very, very quickly, it's not exactly English, but it is the stuff of life. Because a good class is about life. A good English class is about your life. You're the subject on good days. And excuse me, I'm redundant. I want to repeat an idea. If the virus quiets down, and it seems to be quieting down, I hope that some of you will think about something I talk about every single semester, especially to young people. We need your help. Please seek out occasional, if not lots of different ways to volunteer and help out in your communities, in your neighborhoods, your city, wherever you live, whatever streets, whoever's around you. Find a way. We have to step up and do something expecting nothing. No money, nothing whatsoever. We have to look after each other. And people find different ways of doing it. People will shovel other people's snow and take care of ice. I know people who rake older folks' leaves in the fall. And I've told you already, at least the fall people know that it's been some years now that my wife and I on Thursday mornings visit the people in our parish. And the ones who are alone and sick and maybe in a nursing home or an assisted living facility or shut in on their farms. And my wife is too scared to do it with me now, but I'm back at it. And I've got new customers. And just want to give you an example here. I don't have the time to do this, and yet I do it. Look at this. Look at these two. How about cute? This is Al and Betty Hartung. They've been married 54 years. And Al is on his feet here, but he's actually in hospice. He has a very advanced form of melanoma. He's got 10 minutes to live. And I love these two. Most of these people that I visit, again, just farms and cabins right now here in central Minnesota. I visit on Sunday. But I love these two so much. I've been going to church with them for years. And I have promised them that I would come every single day. Every day. And I don't stay more than 5 minutes. We pray, I give them communion, and I get in my big pickup truck and leave. I try to save my tears for the truck, though. I try not to cry until I am heading out of there. And just to tell you something fast, Al likes to grow, 84 years old, he likes to grow sweet corn. And he also likes to grow giant watermelon. And last week, he got a little bit discouraged, and he went to the hardware store and bought 3 packages of watermelon seeds. And the chances of him seeing watermelon at the end of the summer are very nearly zero. He might get them in the ground. I don't think so. So my plan is I'm going to read at his funeral. I'm going to help him die. I'm going to read at his funeral. And then I'm going to ask for 1 package of those watermelon seeds and make sure that they get see the light of day. And I'm not even that big of a watermelon fan. So that's my prelude. Better get on to the preview. I just fried 4 minutes of your time. I want to put a poetry book before you that makes me sad, and I'll tell you why it makes me sad in a minute. I've got some thoughts on Beowulf today. Try to finish that by next week. Next week we only got President's Day is going to take Monday away from us. But so you've got some time to read and catch your breath and try to keep reading that great epic poet. And I got a couple surprises coming your way. And I got to get caught up on all the journal entries. Jeepers cripes. That's the thing about journals. You ask 113 people to write 2 pages. Well, pretty quickly you got 226 pages of prose. The math gets ugly in a hurry. Anyway. I think I had this out in the fall. I certainly mentioned it. This is Tina Chang's new book, Hybrida. Tina Chang is a Chinese-American poet who lives in New York City. She's a professor at SUNY now, up in New York. And how excited I am to look on the back and see that two of the poets that I've hosted have blurbed this book. That's what little blurbs are. Tracy K. Smith, who is a U.S. Poet Laureate, and Terrence Hayes, really tall black dude. I hosted him too. One of them. He's a Guggenheim fellow. And I had to cancel Tina Chang in April, and I had to cancel Adam Zagajewski, and I'm going to host Adam here in a few weeks. But Tina will have to see. She was so sweet. She made a video for my college, and my plan to host her, I was getting so nervous because the virus was just getting going, and no one knew what was happening, and lockdown hadn't happened yet, and I was too nervous to call my administrators at CLC, so I called the mothership. I called Men's State. I got like 2 people away from the chancellor, like the assistant to the assistant, like a big deal. And a week before the reading, I'm like, am I doing this? Am I going to fill an auditorium in a pandemic? He's like, yeah, you can do it. It'll be fine. Well, 3 days later, the big curtain came down. And here's a poem by Tina Chang. This is a poem about, or a book of poems. The general theme is about motherhood. She is the mother of a mixed race child. And this poem is about the idea that, hey, maybe if you had the right name, it would protect you. No title either. There's just that little mark there. That's called a tilde. It's in the upper left key on your keyboard. I named him Roman after lost empires, frozen in time to their historical might. Roman, imagined horses, surging, racing toward a colossal urge, a triumph which has no name. Roman. Nothing could touch him. Nothing could harm him. His name a shield, a circle of fire, surrounding him, in which nothing, no authority, no will, no gun, no warring cacophony of insurgents, no charging battalion could touch him. Roman sounds like run, if uttered quickly, for the towering structure he will be. Roman, warrior. Roman, Ren. Ren, after my own father who died too soon. Ren, a brother to many men. Roman, I yell after him when I see him on his bicycle riding too far from me. I yell after him again and again. Roman, Roman, Roman. He can't hear me. I think that's also kind of I know it's the idea, but it's painful watching kids grow up and leave home. It is the idea to get them out there living independently, but wow, does it sting when they head up the long driveway. At least my sons are looking back. They contact me all the time, and we're going to get together and play board games tomorrow, celebrate my younger boy's birthday. You play board games? Some people are into them, some people aren't. For me, it depends upon the game. Okay, here's the principal thing I want to try to talk about today, and this is not easy. There's only a few institutions that I'm interested in, and I have named them before, and I don't have any time. I'm not going to lift a finger for any institution that isn't on my short list or any ideology. It's just how my head is wired. You guys got to forgive me. I'm 61. I'm an emerging geezer. So I'm a little bit set in my ways, and what I believe in and my values and ideas might not be like yours, but we can still be friends and still love each other. I thought that was part of it's the condition of all my classes. We're going to love each other through the differences. We are going to love each other in spite of the contrasts and how our heads and hearts are wired. And let me just spill it. I'm going to talk about something that makes me a little bit nervous, which is the state of literature and where it's going very quickly. And to review, I believe in marriage. I believe in the family. I believe in the world of school. I believe in the church. And every one of these institutions is in flames. And I've been waiting as the years go by like little boats, little boats like they know me. I've been waiting for literature to be attacked, like everything's being attacked. The idea of burn it down, the idea of dismantling, of disrupting, institutions across the country. It's going on with literature right now too, and I guess I kind of halfway get it. So I got a new chair coming. I'm sitting on a towel here, but I got a new chair coming, and I can't wait. We just ordered it. My Miller Aeron chair with the mesh back. Soon I'll be floating. Right now I'm sitting on an uncomfortable kitchen chair. To cut to it, I learned this week that in England, where everything begins, England, whose literature is infinite, at least one major university, Leicester, if I have this straight, they are eliminating Beowulf and Chaucer and definitely downgrading Shakespeare as writers that are important. There are students there and teachers there and sort of accepting a social movement that is all about saying, okay, this is too white, this is too colonial, and we're getting rid of it. This is a big deal. You could Google this, and there are professors that are medievalists, that are Renaissance professors, who are packing up their offices, who are turning in their degrees saying, this is too far. It's England, and you want to get id of Chaucer. Beowulf, which is what we're reading. Suddenly I'm doing something racist. If you looked at my poetry program, if you looked at the 28 poets that I've hosted, you'd go, wow, this guy's super cool. Look at how inclusive and diverse his list of poets are. Well, I didn't do that deliberately. I write grants for poets that I think are important, that matter. If they happen to be gay or Iranian or from Iraq or California or New York or a man or a woman, I feel like I'm just babbling right now. Well, that's secondary. What I want is a great poet. But if you looked at the list of books that I teach, that I call on students to read, I'm devoted to the classics. I am devoted to the Western canon because it's the way my head is wired. So my way out of this is to continue to think that literature might somehow survive this spirit of protest. It almost feels like a kind of lawlessness. And just to share the metaphor, before I get a little bit more optimistic here, I've often thought of English as a big tent, okay? A big tent. And I think it has room for everyone. So what I don't understand is, at Leicester, really, dear Leicester, seriously, Leicester, isn't there room in the English department at Leicester for the Renaissance guy, the old dude with extra eyebrow hair, the medievalist, whatever you want to call him, a traditional teacher, to have an office right next to the English professor who's a queer theorist, right next to the office of somebody who's interested in Latino studies? I don't know why that old white guy's getting kicked out. I think they should love each other and just keep teaching different classes depending upon how it shakes out enrollment-wise, and then have coffee and lunch and maybe go to the water cooler and go, wow, it's raining again. Because it's always raining in England. I don't know when, I don't understand it's a tension, and I'm not speaking very well about it today. I probably need an extra cup of coffee. This tension between what's inclusive and what's exclusive. I just don't think anybody should get kicked out. I hope we don't stop reading Beowulf. So the news makes me nervous about the state of Western literature that's getting a serious pushback. You could check out the website #DisruptTheText. All my favorite books are just being set on fire, and it makes me a little bit sad. But to counter the sadness, if you get bummed out, I know we don't say that anymore, but I'm old. If you get bummed out, if you get a little down in the dumps, you got to look for hope, like Al getting those watermelon seeds. And I need look this week no further than just a few miles to the east of me, because this week at the College of St. Benedict, something important happened. A little heads up first. In the state of Minnesota, there are 3 reading series, and I admire all of them, especially mine. We got a big one in Mankato. We got a big one in Mankato called the Good Thunder series. And the Good Thunder series is the big fish in the pond because they had a donor. A wealthy woman died in that sweet Minnesota town, and she left millions of dollars to the Arts and Humanities Center, I think, down there. So the Good Thunder series they're knocked out loaded. They can have writers all the time. And they have all kinds of writers. They have journalists, they have kid writers, YA, young adult writers. They'll have poets, they'll have novelists, autobiographers, etc. My series is the only series in the state of Minnesota devoted to poetry. In fact, it's the only series like it in the Midwest. And I've only begun to host poets. Next year is year 10. It's the 10th anniversary of my series. And we all get along. We're out of each other's demographic. And there is another series. There's a third series called the Literary Arts Institute, which is at the College of St. Benedict. It's run by a couple of friends of mine, former colleagues, Professor Matthew Harkins and Rachel Marston. It was run by my dear friend Mark Conway. He's the guy that started it about 26, 27 years ago. And it's really a big-time series. And like me, this spring with my 3 virtual events, so too is the LAI having virtual poetry readings. And this week, they brought on board for a reading, and later they're going to have a workshop in April, I think, a woman named Maria Devani Headley. Pictured here. She's got interesting haircuts, without a doubt. She was married to a playwright for a while, Robert something. I can't remember that guy's name, but let me cut to it. This woman has done a new translation of Beowulf, and I think it's awesome. I gotta look into it a little bit more. Where's my Beowulf? It's not around here. Translating is an interesting idea. My students in my humanities class and my classical mythologies class hear me say this at Central Lakes a lot. Like, wow, I would just love to learn Italian so I could read Dante. I would love to learn Russian so I could read Dostoevsky. How I wish I could learn French so I could read Gustave Flaubert's Madame Bovary in the original French. Well, I can't. I got my hands full with English. And I'm consigned to reading things in translation. I had to tell Honors Lit, I hope I haven't told you this one already. And if I have, you just have to put up with the story told again. Years ago, I was going down the road with William Merwin. And the most brilliant guy I've ever met in my life. The biggest poet, the most brilliant poet I've ever met. I've told you before, everyone became a human being 5 minutes after I pick him up, but not William. He just became more brilliant as we went down the road. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm going down the road with William Merwin. He's talking about joining the French resistance after World War II, or during World War II. We're going down the road, and I hadn't even been in the truck 10 minutes with him. He turned and looked at me with these blue eyes, and he said, do you teach Homer, Jeff? I said, yes, of course I teach Homer. You teach the Lattimore translation? I said, of course. Yes, I teach yes, yeah, what else would I do? Well, what a pack of lies. I just lied to a writer. This was 2007. So the awkward thing was, when I got him to my high school, I had to have a couple people talk to him, so I could run down to my classroom and hide all the copies of Homer that I had on the shelf. Actually, the Fitzgerald translation. So people can get pretty snooty about translations. And I don't know enough about other languages, too. But I think it's safe to say, and I'm going to prove this to you in a minute, that Headley here, who's actually a young adult novelist, has taken some liberties in translating Beowulf. And here's a question, like, when do you take it too far? When do you take poetic license so far that maybe you're not even really with the text anymore? It's hard to say. I don't know the translation. I've only listened to a little bit of this, and you're going to need a little preparation for what's coming your way, because there's a thing I want to talk about first. I'm a real believer in form, in the fulfillment of artistic form. In the reading of Beowulf, you are reading a medieval epic. It's a story about a hero, and a hero is a pattern for all other heroes, a pattern for all other men or women. And that's what this is. It's an epic. So when I pick up an epic, I want it to be epic. I want a hero. I want some badass stuff going on. If it's a medieval period, I want to see some swordplay, some horses galloping. That's what I want. And all artists, I had a hard time saying that word, didn't I? All artists fulfill form in one way or another. In the fall, I talked with my students about Richard Bresnahan, my friend the potter. In Japan, when he was a boy, apprenticing with a family that had been making pottery for centuries, and I forget where it is in Japan. When he was a boy, he had to make the same shape like 200 times. Like his sensei, whoever his boss was, would say, okay, you're going to make this cup. Now you're going to make this bowl, and you're going to make it all day. And then at the end of the day, we're going to take all the cups and bowls that you made, and we're going to trash it. And tomorrow we're going to make something different. In learning how to make a cup, Richard Bresnahan had to achieve the form of the cup, so it just became second nature, a habitude of mind. And I think in the way the Greeks do, that in heaven, everything that's on earth is in heaven, but it's perfect. And down here, what we have are imperfect forms. As brilliant as Richard is, this is an imperfect cup. This table that I'm sitting at, one of the three that I work at, was made by my brother-in-law Patrick Littmer many years ago. It's an imperfect table, but we try and we strive. So let's move towards some kind of conclusion here. I don't have to get to the 30-minute mark each time. Here's what Maria Devine Headley did with this. She translates Beowulf to try to keep it alive. And she took some liberties. She used some vernacular language. I guess there's F-bombs in it. And I'm pretty sure that 11 centuries ago, there were no F-bombs. We did have the F-bomb in France, but this is not a lesson on the etymology of that word that I never use because it's too rough. You're going to hear an S word in a minute because I'm going to let it, you'll see. So I think you can handle it. And apparently, the word that occurs most often in this version of Beowulf, linguistically, is bro. Like she starts out with the word bro. And sometimes I'll call young people that. I'll say, hey bro, you're doing a tiny head in Zoom. And she did something that appears to me to be really cool. This past December, only a couple of months ago, she took 24 of what are probably her friends, 24 of her artist friends, and had them each do a reading and then put it up. So if you go to the webpage, her webpage for Beowulf, you will see the names of 24 people. I don't know very many of them. Like I know Ari Shapiro because he's a National Public Radio guy. So he's a radio personality that millions of people are aware of. But I'm going to put before you now, just for fun, this text. And it's going to be kicked off by a drag queen named Ms. Crackers. I think that's the name of this person. Now, I don't know about the his or her thing there because what I know about drag culture, you could put in a thimble. I am not a drag queen. I think we all know that. But it's fun because you get to hear Ms. Crackers say at first the Old English lines, what this would have been in Old English. And then we're going to listen to Neil Gaiman, who's a professor at Bard College and a major writer, a playwright. He's written all kinds of stuff. And yesterday, I watched my students just swoon over the sound of this Englishman because he's just got such a great voice. Some people are born with great human voices. Some people have voices that are like silk, and some not. I think mine's in the middle. I have no idea. But before I spin it, the sad thing about my morning is I'm waking up as I go across it. And yesterday morning, something occurred to me with my 11 o'clock class that didn't occur to me with my 9 o'clock, which means they may never hear it. My students were asking me questions about the difference between Old English and Middle English. And the main thing I could tell them is, you guys, I cannot read Old English or Anglo-Saxon poetry. I can't. But then I told them, I can kind of read Middle English. That's the language that Chaucer used 4 centuries after this. A little later in the morning in English's long and important day. And I said to them, I could recite a little of it to you so you can hear it. They were like, could you? I mean, yeah. And so I ended class yesterday, and I'll put this before you, reciting some lines from Chaucer's prologue of the Canterbury Tales. A couple quick tips. In Middle English, again, which I can read, there's very soft vowels. There's no hard vowels. There's no A, E, I, O, U. The vowels are all soft. Consonants are softer, and every syllable is pronounced. Give this a whirl, and look for regular English words in it. and this is from memory, some of it anyway, most of it, all of it. One that April, with a short asata, the drought of March hath passed to the rata, and by the Avravina in Swek Lakara, in which Vertu engendered is the flora. When Zephyrus Acre with his sweet breatha inspired hath in every halt and heatha, the tender crops, the young sun, have thinned the course of will run, and small fowlers making melodea that clapping all the day with open ear. See, maybe you can hear some English in there, right? And small fowlers, that's little birds. And small fowlers making melodea. Well, that's birds singing. That's all the line really says. The birds are singing. It's April. It's starting to rain. Flowers are coming up. So I'll edit in here Ms. Crackers and Neil Gaiman, and you can have kind of a different experience with Beowulf. Does this violate form? I don't know. There's not very many pages or many words on my Seamus Heaney translation that are on this word. The word foundling is there, and the word, the names of these dudes are on the first page for her, but have fun. Check this out.
Hey everybody, it's me, Miss Cracker, and today I am going to be reading the first few lines of Beowulf, starting with Old English and then going to the new translation. What we gardina in yer dogum, theud kuninga, thrim ye frunan, who tha athlingas elen fremedon. Ochshil chafing, scathan athretum, monogum megthum, medo set laftea, egg soda erlas. Sithan ereswerth, fasha funden, hethas frofregabad, wex under woknum, werth mindum da, o that him I wilch, dara imsidtandra, overhunrad, hierin shoulder, gamban yielden, that was good kuninga. Bro, tell me we still know how to speak of kings. In the old days, everyone knew what men were. Brave, bold, glory-bound, only stories now, but I'll sound the Spear Dane's song, hoarded for hungry times. Their father was a foundling, Shil chafing. He spent his youth fists up, browbeating every barstool brother, bonfiring his enemies. That man began in the waves, a baby in a basket, but he bootstrapped his way into a kingdom, trading loneliness for luxury. Whether they thought kneeling necessary or no, everyone from head to tail of the whale road bent down. There's a king, there's his crown. That was a good king.
Hrothgar, the Scyldings' own skull protector, had some things to say. Beowulf, I count you a favoured fight friend now. Your father, I knew him from a feud, which he began by killing Hitholaf. That too, hand to hand, and Hitholaf was a wolfing so that shit couldn't stand. Your father's country wouldn't keep him. They threw him out, and he set sail oversea to me. I was a young king of the Danes then, hauling up a hoard of treasure, that ladder's rungs burnt beneath me. My brother, Hrothgar, had died, and he was the firstborn, the better. I was the lesser brother, but it didn't matter. I fixed your father's feud with fistfuls of old gold, my treasure shipped to stop his country's wound. Ecgtheow owed me allegiance ever after. Oh, it hurts my head that the world knows of my grief, of Hroth's heartbreaker.